All right. Wealthies, welcome back. If you're new here, this is All the Wealth, WealthMore's wealth building channel, and I'm McCall Jean-Lise White, the host and founder. And today we are here for a special episode about empowering women to invest and take agency over their money. And I couldn't be more excited than to have our special guest, Jenny Just, with us. Jenny is a fintech powerhouse. If you think about the apps that have made it possible for women and many other people to invest, Jenny is the woman behind it. 97 co-founded Peak Six. She is a self-made billionaire, having grown that brand to a fintech powerhouse with brands like Peak Six Capital, Apex Fintech Solutions, Zogo, Team Focus Insurance Group, and many other brands. But Jenny didn't just stop there. Jenny believes in helping women succeed. In 2020, she started Poker Power, which I have had the pleasure of attending a few times. And I got to tell you guys, it's amazing. It's about helping women think about strategy, decision making, and risk taking. Jenny, most recently, was named a CNBC Changemaker. Welcome to All the West, Jenny.
Thank you so much.
When I share your background, I imagine some of our wealthies are probably like, she was born on Wall Street. She just came out like this. It is so impressive, but we know that that isn't always the case. So tell us
Right.
about young Jenny. Tell us about how you grew up and how money was introduced to you.
Sure, I'd be happy to, and I definitely did not grow up thinking about Wall Street. So, I grew up in Wisconsin, and, I was a tomboy. I had 4 brothers, so probably not unexpected. I was sort of a sports nut. I played a little bit of sports too, and then I went to the University of Michigan, where obviously many great sports teams, including the most recent national champions. Um And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a good artist, actually. So I thought, and I was good at math. So my grandpa had told me you should go into architecture. It's a good blend of the two of them. And so that's where I originally started. And I took my first physics class and I thought, I don't like this. So I stopped that and pivoted. I ended up going to the business school only because I didn't really know what else I wanted to do. And at the time at Michigan, it was a 2-year program. So it was good timing with my change of plans. And when I left school, the only thing I wanted to do was go to the city of Chicago. So that was the big city for me growing up in Wisconsin. And so I interviewed at a bank. I interviewed at a trading firm called O'Connor and Associates, and I interviewed at a big advertising firm in Chicago. Yeah, and I ended up it's funny because I don't think I got offers from the other 2. I was thinking about this the other day, but I actually wanted to work at O'Connor, even though I had no idea. Had no idea what options were. I didn't have any idea about trading. I'd seen it in the movies, like trading places, but I interviewed in an office, so I thought I was going to work in an office, and they kind of were early Google-like kind of culture, so it was casual, and they also served food, and they had Haagen-Dazs and beer in the fridge. That's how I made my decision. So, I was a young whippersnapper going for all the things,
Oh,
but I didn't know anything about the markets, and my last piece of that is my first day, they took me down to the trading floor, which I did not know I was going to, which is, for your audience who's too young to remember, it's crazy. It's thousands of people, almost all men, and screaming and yelling, and they put you in a trading coat, and they sat me on the stoop on the floor because there's, like, steps that go up and out to the side of these pits, and they left me there all day. I never never came back and got me. It was a busy day. Drexel Burnham had declared bankruptcy. It was a really big time in Wall Street. So, it was wild, and I didn't have lunch. I didn't go to the bathroom, and that was my introduction.
is that where you caught the Wall Street bug? Because I always feel like there's that magic moment in the middle of all that chaos, and you're
Mhm.
like, this is pretty cool.
This is going. So, I would say initially, I mean, first of all, it was definitely it was definitely a lot. But back to my interest in sports, like it's like a sporting event every day. People are in tennis shoes, they are moving, they are like super high, super low, right? And to this day, probably still one of the best working years of my career was being down on that trading floor. So for sure, I don't know if I caught at that point. I probably didn't catch the Wall Street bug so much as I caught the being part of this sporting entertainment thing called trading. Yeah.
You you don't just go into regular asset management. You go
Right.
to
We go all the way to the right of the curve.
just for our audience, because we sort of break these things down. There are folks who are asset managers who are they're building portfolios for long-term investing. And then there's options trading, which is like going straight into the deep end. You
Yeah.
are what is called like a market maker. You are
Yeah.
moving the markets in dramatic ways.
Mm,
How did you get into options trading, which clearly translates to poker power because
mm,
that's high
very much so.
risk taking?
Right. That is true and something I didn't know about poker till much later. So O'Connor and Associates, one of the infamous firms today, they were eventually bought and it was rolled up into UBS. Susquehanna, SIG, which people might know today, they were the two big, really early, great options trading firms. So I was super lucky. I didn't know what they were, but that's what you're going to learn. Everybody who goes in, you might learn in equities, you might learn it in interest rates, you might learn it in currencies. But for me, fortunately, I got to learn it in equities. So when I'm thinking about an option, I'm not buying the stock or selling the stock, but I have the right in the future
Yeah.
to buy or sell the stock. So those are the instruments we are buying and selling all day long, and making markets. So people who want to overwrite, for example, where they buy the stock and they sell the upside, so they get a little bit boost on their return, we would be the other side of that trade.
We often talk to our wealthies about interest rates and 2-year and 10-year and how that's the market projecting where
Mhm.
they think interest rates will go, projecting what will happen with inflation. And in many ways, option trading is a projection. Where do you think this stock will go? And
Mhm.
people who follow the markets, they look at the options to say, what is the rest of the market thinking? And
That'd go big.
when you're a big firm, that does a lot, people
Mhm.
really pay attention to which side of the bet you're taking.
Yes. Yeah, and the interesting thing as a market maker, we take both sides. So we are buying and selling all day long, not to just scalp the middle, but there are people who do that. We think there's sort of a difference. There's like really, fast firms. A Jane Street would be an example who might be out there and they are more like DoorDash. They're just transporting the goods. We're more like the grocery store. We're inventorying the goods. So if people are selling things, we might be buying them. If people are buying things, we might be selling them. But we are doing that in combination all day long. And we tend to hold the inventory where one of those DoorDash type of market participants would be in and out in seconds, or certainly not overnight. We are literally days and weeks into some of our positions. So, yeah. And making decisions to hold the inventory based on how much we think things are going to move, not necessarily direction. So something called volatility arbitrage in today's market. Obviously, a lot of volatility. So there's a lot of movement. It's an opportunity for us to be in the middle of that movement in lots of names. We might have 3 to 4,000 names across our portfolio at any given time, where most of the big firms you would see out there, if they have any inventory, sort of in the big names and maybe a couple hundred names.
Yeah. I hope you guys are just kind of completely enthralled as I am. We don't often get to talk to women who are doing this, right? We're often seeing the men do it. And I just love Jenny's story and what she does and how she normalizes women being on Wall Street. And she's not just doing this for her own portfolio. She's doing this, as she mentioned, like 4,000 different positions. You are making the market. You are telling the market where you expect things to go. But when you started this, right, still in a very male dominated space, What were some of your first observations? How did you feel as likely the only woman in the room?
So, because I was the only woman in my household, well, besides my mom, of course, but I was used to being around a lot. I told you about my first day at work. My second day at work, there was a gentleman who was on our team who came up and he said, "Don't worry, I'll protect you." And I was like, "From what?" Like, what was going to happen? I didn't know. Just this idea of being there was not so surprising to me. I think, though, the thing that really struck me and bothered me as time went on is that, first of all, it's really interesting. It's really fun. And like women are not just missing out on those two things, but also the monetary opportunities when you're in money are so big. So why aren't more women here doing this? And I also felt, as eventually I became a mother, that like this is possible as a mother as well. It wasn't. And how could, what's the mix and match? What's the way to do it? In what areas? But there's so many different ways that I thought it was just a big miss. It was also very early on for me, a really big miss that I couldn't get more women to see it. Like we had tried multiple times to try and recruit,
Women.
like something simple. We had an all women's trading event. There were more men there than there were women at it. So, like, we had multiple efforts over time to try and bring women because that was, we have many companies today, but at its core, our proprietary options trading firm is 28 and almost 29 years old now, and it sort of funded everything else we did. So I have real responsibility to go, gosh, this thing is having real success. There's zero reason why women cannot be involved in this. And what a great opportunity for them. How am I going to make it happen? And eventually we did. We figured out a model. We had many fails and we eventually started this thing called the Women's Trading Experience, which you come in the summer and you have this, 8 to 10 week boot camp basically. And the interesting thing about it is I thought it was because the way we programmed every single day, every hour of every single day. Like we cannot fail. Like this has to be the best internship. If you're smart, you're curious, you're hardworking, I can teach you this. This is possible, but I have to get you interested. I have to get you in the door. And I thought that's what we were doing. But the interesting thing is we were actually teaching poker back then. And this is before I even played poker. It was more that was happening because there are many options traders who are poker players. And our teacher is a very good poker player. So he brought it into the program because I was like, this has to be the best. And since I didn't know the game, I didn't really care. Great, let's do it. Today, the program is 9 years old. We have almost 30% female traders, which is wildly unheard of on Wall Street.
Thing.
Obviously, the big banks have, sort of half and half men and women, but in capital allocation positions, it's wildly unheard of. Like you might get a percent at other trading firms, maybe 2%. But so to be anywhere around 30 is
I love the fact that you have really centered women as part of this journey. I'm a big believer in each one teach one. If you
mm,
ride that elevator to the top, you better send it back down and bring some other women up. But you took it even further with Apex FinTech Solutions. And Wealthies, we are part of Apex. Your accounts are with Apex as our custodian clearing. But it is for me just how Apex has democratized and made platforms like WealthMore and so many others. We could
mhm.
not be here without that deliberate effort. And I've heard your passion for democratizing these markets, and I can't thank you enough for doing it.
We're so happy Wealthmore is there. It is a platform to give opportunity for just a quick analogy. If someone thinks about retail stores and they want to start, how do they quickly start? They often start on Shopify. It's very similar for a fintech like a Wealthmore. There are a lot of things that have to happen in order to be able to deliver an amazing fintech product to the end consumer. And a lot of those things are really the guts and the plumbing of the financial ecosystem. And that is something that the biggest firms do, the Charles Schwab and the Fidelities and the TDs and obviously the big banks, but all the other firms that are out there are hundreds and hundreds of them. How do they get their start? And then how do they grow? Apex FinTech Solutions is almost 65 68% of the market today of getting those people started. So Robinhood, when they got their start, Wealthfront, Betterment, they all started on our platform. It's fact. It's
That
fact. Robinhood was with us for about 6 years. I always say when GameStop happened, that did not happen on our watch. So, and that would not have happened that way. There's so many amazing things they have done, but at the same time, right, they were a little over their skis on that one. But the opportunity is set for new ways to deliver to all the different types of clients
that's
and customers out there. That's the platform allows for that to happen. So you can focus on the customer and we can focus on sort of after the trade is made, right? When the money exchanges, when the securities exchange, that's our job. That's roughly a commodity
yeah.
today, as just having rebuilt a major part of that system. We think it's probably been over 50 years since someone has built a real-time ledger into the financial ecosystem. So it's even that the opportunity today is really at the fingertips of those entrepreneurs like yourself who want to change, the destiny of their customers and what they can do in fintech. And so talking to them and creating those storylines and approaches, that's where all the special sauce happens, right? Even in the day of AI, how do you spark a different way of thinking about money for your end consumer and give them hope and motivate them to change their own destiny?
You got it. I mean, we often have Matt, who's our chief portfolio strategist, on the podcast, and we recently were sharing the performance of our portfolios from last year. And that was a big part of my passion for building Wealth More is that, hey, rich people have people that build portfolios for them. They don't always have to go out here and pick individual stocks, but the 100 million Americans who don't have a wealth advisor are often left to do that. And it was so important for me to feel like we could create that. And Apex gave us that opportunity such
Yeah,
that
I love it.
craft these portfolios, we could deliver on that peace of mind. And it still sort of warms my heart when people say, I love having an advisor. I love the peace of mind of not having to
Hmm.
do that. And we would not be able to do that if not for having partners like you and Apex to make that possible.
Right. We appreciate that. And we are grateful for the entrepreneurs who join us for sure.
And that's part of the reason why I wanted you to come on because sometimes like people are enjoying a product, but they don't know hidden figures behind it.
Yeah, that's right.
Wanted to make sure we brought those hidden figures front and center so that when you are out here sort of gushing over, hey, I can do this, I can do that, there's a whole army that makes sure the trades go through, the state go through, the tax forms, like all
That's
of
right.
that fun stuff. You
Hmm.
have a powerhouse team behind you to bring that together. We often do episodes encouraging women to invest, but we still have work to do. There is still that barrier where when we do get women investing, they are really good investors. The
Hmm.
data is there. Women are good
Yep.
investors. They are deliberate. They do their homework. My favorite is we are not emotional, despite how they love to pin that one on us.
Yeah, right.
We're very good.
Yeah,
It's just a matter of getting us there. It's like we
that's
just
right.
had just like you had to bring the women into trading for them to see it, and then they could take action, it's like we
That's right.
still have work to do to just get women there. Like, what would you be your advice to women to just, like, get them over that hump? Because we
Mhm.
know once they get here, they're doing it.
That's right. Yeah, I think the biggest thing, certainly the hardest thing is the initial hump. We're not sort of, it's not in our society or culture that we are naturally going to start to do those things. And however, if you think about young boys or young men, how they are starting and thinking, right? And we'll talk about poker, but playing poker would be a great example. How do they get their feet wet? They do fantasy sports. There are all kinds of things that they are doing as they are growing up, and the women are not doing that. And so it's really hard now when it's more real. I'm an adult and I have bills and things to do, and deciding between the two when I don't have comfort around it um, is not an unexpected hurdle if I haven't been doing it my whole life. If I didn't start with, you know, a dollar and $5 and $10, like all of a sudden to think about it in these other much larger numbers is really hard. And so I think the most important thing we can do for sure as parents, is getting our kids started younger, super young, right? I mean, there are amazing financial apps for
Young kids.
families out there today. And many of them are on Apex. So that the parent who goes, I wish I had started sooner, can definitely start soon with their child. I'm talking like you are talking numbers when the child is 3 and 4. They are watching you transact in dollars by the phone usually, but having those communications super early. But when they are 5 and 6 and 7, like that is part of their lives as far as I'm concerned. But for the person who is still waiting, unfortunately, the most important thing you have is time and practice to get going. It's not about taking $1,000. It's literally about taking $50, $100. The beauty of today with fractional shares, Apex was one of the first to bring fractional share trading to the world, is starting with those companies that that you have seen before. And it's not about picking individual stocks, but if you don't start to buy or sell something so that you can then have a conversation with an advisor, it's really hard to make that leap because you don't even know the questions to ask. And now all of a sudden, it doesn't feel good to give something to an advisor in a big amount. You might give a small amount, but think if you had that knowledge. So it's like brushing your teeth every single day. I have to decide, there's so many, amazing places like this podcast where you can go get a little bit more information. You can take one step forward and all these baby steps in each of these different places, starting having conversation with your friends, start listening in as many circles as you can. There's so many interesting women's circles that are doing this today. And then taking action. The action has to happen. You have to make the first action. It just doesn't have to be a huge action. In the past, it was huge, and you had such big fees. Today, you don't have massive fees to pay, and so you can take action with small amounts of money. I have to do it. If you don't take the risk with a small amount of money, you're never going to go to the next level of money. And that's when the brilliance of the money starts to work for you, especially with smart people like at Wealthmore. Like, how do you get to that next level? How do you let the systems and the money work for you? When you know nothing, you have nothing invested, time goes by, and your money needs time to grow.
Yeah. We didn't set out to have a podcast at all.
Mhm.
Guys, like, I can't tell you
Right? You were thinking of the tech and the interaction with the customer for
you
sure.
got it. But we saw this void where people just needed to have these conversations for
Mhm.
someone to tell them it's okay to get
Mhm.
started,
Yeah,
how to get started.
yeah.
Even normalizing things like just look at the S&P, just
Mhm.
look at these 4 or 5 indices, like,
Yeah,
they're literally on your phone, like, on
they are.
your phone, you
Yeah,
can
they're
get
they're
your
embedded. Unless you remove Apple, like Apple puts it there for you.
right there, and so just normalizing that, like,
Mhm,
using the language, getting people to be like, "What's a stock? What's an ETF?" We did an episode a few months ago at Villanova, and we were just telling women simple things to get the conversation going. Like,
mhm.
"Hey, today the CPI was announced, which is the Consumer Price Index, which tracks inflation. It's 3.3% year over year. Just drop that in the group chat. See what
Yeah,
happens."
yeah.
Right?
I love
I literally dropped it in our family group chat, and
yeah.
people were like, "This is why it's up at the gas pump," and I'm like, "Just
Right.
get the
I
conversation
love it.
going," and then it sparked somebody else to go see what the markets were doing, and
Yeah,
now we're normalizing it, and then we're
right.
sort of like, "Go tell your kids about it," right?
That's
So
right.
that they're thinking about it, and you just make this, like, part of the conversation. To your point about 5, 6, your kids are in the grocery store. They're
That's right.
asking you to buy things all the time. Turn
Yeah.
it into a conversation about equities. Like, don't buy candy bars, own Mars, own things.
Exactly. I asked my daughter this morning, I said, if you say one thing she's 20, so I have 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl. I asked my daughter this morning when she called, I said, if there's one thing that you think I taught you, she's like, buy the company, not the clothes. That's what she said. I said, that's the only thing. That's the main thing, Mom.
I love it. I have that line every
Yeah.
time they want a new iPhone. I have 3
Yeah.
boys, and every time they're like, "We need a new iPhone," I'm like, "No, you need to buy some shares of
That's
Apple.
nice.
That phone works just fine. It's still working.
It's
Text
still
about
working.
it."
Yeah. We are on text right now about your phone.
Just habituating, like, money is not just for spending. It is for
Right.
investing and building wealth. I taught my boys how to invest during COVID. I think the youngest one at the time was, like, 5 or so,
That's
and
amazing.
honestly, I didn't think they would get it. I was a bit hesitant. I'm like, "Is it too early?" Guys, they got it.
They got it. Yep.
They get
Well,
it.
and yeah, I mean, I always laugh because we have a friend who is like deep into chemistry and like what you teach them is what they know. Like that child knows more about chemistry than like a senior in high school does because that's what they were taught. So I always laugh too. When my kids were little, I asked my older son too when I was on the phone with him this morning, and he said, "Do you remember when you did balance sheet and income statement placemats for us when we were kids?"
I love it.
And he goes, "I still get debits and credits confused." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you aren't scared of debits and credits. That's the thing." Again, back to the normalizing because the language, I mean, it's not unlike the poker table for women, right? They're just scared to go there. They don't think they belong. Someone starts talking another language and I can't relate to it. And so if we just get used to having dialogue about it, you will, you will get smarter yourself just by having the dialogue with your child.
And we know when talking about balance sheets and cash flow management, women are often the CFOs in their home.
At
You
their homes.
doing it anyway. You're
That's
balancing
right.
the budget, you are paying the bills. That's essentially what a CFO does, and that's what that balance sheet is. It's money in, money out, and then
That's right.
assets. Like your house is an asset. The car is, though depreciating, but they're assets.
Yep.
All part of that whole equation. So when you start to like normalize it and give people good comparisons of how you're already doing the job, all of a
Yeah.
sudden it doesn't feel as scary.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Jenny, we went into the next generation. We already touched a little about teaching kids to invest, getting more comfortable, getting women just over that hump. I love that you talk about starting small. This is
Mhm.
not about like, hey, go take every dollar you have and put it in the market. Not at all. We
No.
want, if you haven't done it yet, and I don't care if you're 20 or 60, it's never too late to get started.
That's right. And I just want to say one thing too. Like I think right now in particular, and it's obviously going on for a little while, but it's going to continue to go. Like if you think about when the internet started or early 90s, we are talking about a revolution happening with AI. If we are not thinking about having some exposure to that, I don't care how small the dollars are, there's so much growth ahead of us. You need to have exposure to AI because if you're not in it, let's just think, you're worried about it. You're worried about what might happen with your job, or you might be in it. Amazing. So you have exposure already. Wherever you are in it, you need exposure. And if you're not working in it and you're not get employed by a firm that's doing it and you're getting stock options or whatever it might be, you need to be investing in it. The wealth that is being created there is extraordinary. And again, it doesn't have to be massive dollar amounts. It's small, regular dollar amounts, hopefully, that are going towards it. And the work you're doing and teaching on ETFs, for example, is a great place to
Yeah.
think about it.
Yes, please get involved with I cannot impress how important this is. Guys,
Right.
you don't wanna miss this wave, this boat, whatever you wanna call it. I felt I missed the dot-com wave. If I could go back, I wouldn't have left it to something that was happening in Silicon Valley. I was living in New York. It felt so far away.
Yeah,
What I'm not gonna do is miss this one because this
that's
one
right.
I think is X bigger than the dot-com wave. This one's
Yeah,
gonna make dot-com look like a blip, like it was
yeah,
nothing.
that's right.
If you've tried vibe coding or any of these things, guys, it is amazing. So
Mhm.
pay attention, invest, don't be so afraid of it.
Yeah,
Be curious. Fear is not empowering. Be curious.
yeah, yeah. It is, and the opportunity for someone who's never done any coding before and to learn and to use, like It is so easy to do. Once you get in there and you start using it, you will realize that you should also be investing
Yes.
along.
Yeah. Yeah. I play with these platforms. We encourage wealthies, just go out there, try it. If you're going to be doom scrolling anything, doom scroll into AI. It'll pay
That's
off
right.
in so many different ways.
Yes.
Doom scroll this podcast, doom scroll AI. These are things that will serve you well.
That's right.
So, Jenny, as we wrap up, are there any final words that you would have for a wealthy community, for women? We're in 2026. The markets are little volatile right now, but that's also
Yes,
part of the journey. What
that's
advice
right.
do you leave our audience?
Well, for sure, in my history of being in the markets for quite some time now, um, I will leave you this, which is women have been left out for hundreds of years in this game called poker. And I learned about it because of my daughter when she was 14. And the closest thing I ever saw to how I was trained in options trading was when I learned poker. It's the first time that I'd seen something, because something I knew had been missing. And it's what we talked about earlier, which is being comfortable taking risk, allocating capital, strategizing, understanding what are the range of outcomes that are possible here, what poker can do for you and do for the young girls in our lives, I believe can literally solve, which is why we're on a mission at Poker Power to teach a million girls and women. I literally think it can solve all those ways that girls aren't participating, right? We know at that first rung on the ladder, they get behind not because of many, many things that we would like to assume stereotypically they would get behind on because they're not taking risk. Men are taking risk with 60% confidence. The woman needs 90+% confidence. And then once you get to a maternity leave or something, that's not it. The exponential growth starts much younger in your career cycle. And if you can get comfortable failing and getting back up again over and over again, right? You're never going to have perfect information. So, how do you start to practice making decisions with imperfect information? All these things are wrapped up in this silly little card game called poker that men have been playing for eons. And if you think about the very successful men, like almost all of them play poker. The interesting thing in our journey of trying to teach a million girls and women is the number of senior women who grew up playing poker. So AMD, again, one of our AI specialties we should be thinking about. Lisa Su grew up playing poker. Hillary Clinton grew up playing poker. Malala grew up playing poker. The only woman who's Fortune 500 CEO twice, and her sisters, they were also Fortune 500 CEOs together, Maggie Wilderotter and her sister. They started playing poker at ages 6 and 7. So there is a place to practice. You don't have to play for money.
Yeah.
I just want to be clear. Poker Power, we out there, we're not playing for money. We are creating an incredible environment. We do it at companies, but we can also do it at homes. But we're really interested in making sure that the young girls start to learn. We've taught it over 370 companies and organizations now in 70 countries. It's been so powerful in places like Kenya, where we are teaching marginalized girls. It is now their leadership program. This is what that poker table can do. It's going to give them all that confidence, the confidence that you see, particularly with men in markets, men at a poker table. That's what it's doing for the girls and women that we are teaching. So I think there's an extraordinary opportunity for the wealthies to get on board.
I can vouch for this. After playing Poker Power, I think the first time was at the NASDAQ event where we had Girls Who Invest, which was
Yeah.
a fantastic event. The thing that sticks with me all the time is limp bets. And I now view so many things around, am I making a limp bet? And for
Yeah.
folks who don't know what that is, it is you're wishy washy. You're really not going
Exactly.
in on something. It has changed how we approach even fundraising for our firm. You
Amazing.
assess potential investors. Am they making a serious bet or a limp bet?
Yeah.
Right? Think about like even our product roadmap. I'm like, yeah, but is this a real feature? Or are we just like doing this to do it? Right.
Yeah.
It really just changes how you think about, am I going all in? Am
Mhm.
I making a strategic play? Am I taking the right amount of risk taking for the outcomes
I
that
love that.
I would tell you guys, don't go through life limp betting it. Right.
That's right. We don't wanna limp in. We don't wanna limp in. Yeah,
Right.
and because why? Because you could save those resources. It's better to just there are strategies where you might limp, but it's rare, and it's not how you win at the poker table. It's not how you're gonna win at life, and it's not how you're gonna win as an entrepreneur. So you have to use your resources, your chips, your whatever your resources are, as strategically as possible. And so when you're gonna go, you really have to lean in, and there's so many corollaries to poker and life and poker and work, poker and being an entrepreneur, poker and investing. Like people are using that inherently. And, people often ask, especially, women who are talking about, are we trying to be like men? No, what we're trying to do, we're first trying to get in the game that's being played, right? And then we're trying to change the game that's being
Yeah.
played. So by getting into that game, it takes practice. And so where do you practice? And hopefully, as a very young female, you can start playing poker again, age 6, 7. You can do that, variations on the theme, but hopefully it's part of your life. Like my daughter, she'll never not know playing poker, right? And what it does for the young girls is phenomenal because, like, they don't expect to be sitting at that table with the boys anyway. So what does that really mean for the rest of the tables and places they're going to be in life? Like, we have to change their internal perceptions of themselves and where they belong. And how do you do that? It's hard to do with society and culture the way it is. So we have to give as many tools as possible. This is just another tool in the toolkit. It's not about becoming a poker expert. It's
Now,
just another tool.
when my brother-in-law came to visit and I had the poker power deck of cards, like, so, and he's like, who plays poker in this house? I,
Of course. The men are so surprised. Oh, yeah, you can teach your daughters. Yeah,
it's like,
actually, it's real.
like as bright pink as my jacket. So of course it's
That's right.
eye-catching. So he's like, plays poker in this house. And I'm like, I do. I really like it. He's like, yeah, we have like a regular game, like a
Oh,
group of
yeah.
us. It's happening. And
Yeah.
people are using those strategies in real life.
Mm.
And it's a game changer. It will boost that confidence. It will have you walking into your own investing, your life, your businesses, just thinking a little differently about making those real strategic decisions.
Yeah. I love that.
Jenny, it has been a pleasure to have you on the pod. Wealthies, I hope you took a lot from this. This is April. It is Financial Literacy Month. Take action. Don't limp bet. Take action. Thank you. Until next time, this is All the Wealth.